Europe, a continent steeped in history, a tapestry woven with threads of empires, revolutions, and artistic brilliance. For centuries, it stood as the epicenter of power, shaping the destiny of nations and leaving an indelible mark on the world. From the bustling factories of the Industrial Revolution to the grandeur of its empires, Europe's influence seemed boundless. Its ideas, its innovations, its very essence radiated outwards, touching every corner of the globe. But time, like a river, carries even the mightiest of structures along its current. What was once a symphony of power and progress has begun to fade, the music growing fainter with each passing year. This is the story of Europe's decline, a slow and steady drift from the center stage of global affairs. A journey that began subtly, almost imperceptibly, but one that has reshaped the geopolitical landscape in profound ways. From peak to decline, Europe after the Cold War. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 marked a pivotal moment. The Iron Curtain, that stark symbol of division, was lifted, and a new era seemed to dawn upon Europe. Hope blossomed like wildflowers in springtime. The reunification of Germany, the expansion of the European Union, the introduction of the euro, these were all seen as signs of a continent on the rise, poised to reclaim its place as a global leader. The world watched with a mixture of admiration and anticipation. Could Europe, finally free from the shackles of the Cold War, truly rise to meet its full potential? For a brief, shining moment, it seemed inevitable. But beneath the surface of this newfound optimism, a storm was brewing. The seeds of decline, though small and seemingly insignificant, had already been sown. The early 2000s brought with them a sense of unease. The rapid economic growth that had defined the post-Cold War era began to sputter, like a flame starved of oxygen. The euro, once hailed as a symbol of unity and prosperity, began to reveal its inherent weaknesses. The fault lines were most evident in the southern European countries. Greece, Portugal, Italy, Spain, burdened by debt, high unemployment, and inflexible economic structures, they became harbingers of the challenges to come. The cracks in the facade of European unity were becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The continent that had once spoken with one voice on the world stage was now grappling with internal divisions, its economic engine sputtering, its global influence waning. The stage was set for a crisis that would shake the very foundations of Europe. The heavy blow of the 2008 financial crisis. In 2008, the world watched in disbelief as the unthinkable happened. The global financial system, that intricate web of interconnected markets and institutions, began to unravel. It began in America, with the collapse of the subprime mortgage market. Like a virus, the crisis spread rapidly, crossing borders and oceans with terrifying speed. What started as a ripple in the American housing market soon became a tsunami, crashing down on the shores of Europe with devastating force. Banks teetered on the brink of collapse, stock markets plummeted, and economies around the world ground to a halt. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of the globalized world, and Europe, deeply integrated into this system, found itself caught in the eye of the storm. The impact on Europe was profound. The continent, already grappling with its own internal economic woes, was ill-prepared for a crisis of this magnitude. The fault lines that had been slowly emerging now erupted, exposing the vulnerabilities of the European project. Greece, its economy already teetering on the edge, became the epicenter of the European debt crisis. The contagion spread rapidly to other vulnerable countries like Portugal, Ireland, Italy, and Spain, threatening to unravel the entire Eurozone. Austerity measures were imposed, leading to widespread social unrest and political instability. The dream of a united and prosperous Europe seemed to be slipping away, replaced by a sense of uncertainty and fear. The 2008 financial crisis was a watershed moment for Europe. It marked the beginning of a new era, one defined by economic stagnation, political fragmentation, and a diminished role on the world stage. Europe faced another significant challenge: an aging population. With birth rates declining and life expectancy increasing, the demographic balance was shifting dramatically. This created immense pressure on social welfare systems, healthcare, and pension schemes. At the same time, the continent was grappling with a migration crisis. Conflicts in the Middle East and Africa drove millions to seek refuge in Europe, leading to a humanitarian emergency and testing the limits of European solidarity. The influx of refugees and migrants sparked heated debates about identity, security, and integration. Some saw it as an opportunity to rejuvenate the workforce and address demographic challenges, while others viewed it as a threat to cultural cohesion and national security. This dual crisis of aging and migration further strained the fabric of European societies, highlighting the complex and interconnected nature of the continent's modern challenges. Now, Europe's always been a place of history, of generations building upon generations, but lately, those generations are starting to thin out. See, Europe's facing a challenge, a quiet storm brewing in its demographics. Birth rates, they've been falling like autumn leaves, and the average age is climbing higher than some of those old cathedrals. Places like Germany, they're seeing more folks retiring than entering the workforce. It's a strange thing, this aging. It creeps in slowly, almost unnoticed at first, but soon enough it becomes as much a part of the landscape as the cobblestone streets and ancient ruins. And as the continent greys, it starts to wonder, who's going to keep the lights on? Who's going to tend to the gardens and write the next chapter in Europe's story? To fill that void, Europe opened its doors, welcoming folks from lands far away. People seeking a new start, a chance at a better life. But with open arms came unforeseen challenges. The influx of migrants, it stirred something deep within the continent's soul, a sense of unease, of uncertainty. Lines were drawn, dividing communities and families. The age-old question of identity, of who belongs and who doesn't, echoed through the halls of Parliament and the streets of countless cities. And in that division, in that struggle for identity, the seeds of discord were sown, giving rise to factions and ideologies that threatened to unravel the very fabric of European society. Military dependence. Can Europe survive without the US? There's a saying, freedom ain't free. It comes with a price, a burden of responsibility. And for decades now, Europe's leaned heavily on a friend, a powerful ally across the Atlantic. The United States, with its mighty military, has stood as a shield, a deterrent against those who might threaten the peace and stability of the continent. But reliance, it can be a double-edged sword. It provides comfort, security, but it can also breed complacency, a sense of vulnerability when that shield begins to waver. And in a world where shadows lengthen and uncertainty reigns, Europe finds itself at a crossroads, grappling with the question of its own self-reliance. The conflict in Ukraine, it cast a long shadow over Europe, exposing the fault lines in its defenses, the dependence on foreign powers. The United States, though a steadfast ally, found itself embroiled in another distant conflict, its resources stretched thin, and Europe, caught between its principles and its limitations, struggled to respond. The question wasn't just about military might, about tanks and planes, but about resolve, about the willingness to stand united in the face of aggression. Could Europe, with its fragmented armies and divergent interests, truly defend itself? Could it forge a common defense, a bulwark against the storms gathering on the horizon? The world is changing, and Europe's role within it is shifting. The continent that once held sway over vast empires now finds itself grappling with internal divisions and external pressures. From Brexit to the rise of nationalist movements, the European Union faces significant challenges to its cohesion. Economic disparities among member states, differing foreign policy priorities, and the ever-looming question of sovereignty all contribute to a sense of fragmentation. In this environment, Europe's global influence appears to wane, and the dream of a united, powerful Europe seems more elusive than ever. The question remains, can Europe overcome its divisions and reclaim its place on the world stage, or will it continue to drift, a divided union in a multipolar world? The European Union. It was once a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of unity, a shining example of what nations could achieve when they set aside their differences. But even the strongest of structures, given enough time and pressure, can begin to show cracks. And the European Union, for all its aspirations, was not immune to the forces of division. The exit of Great Britain, the Brexit as they called it was a blow, a sign that the bonds of unity were fraying at the edges. And as internal divisions deepened, Europe's influence on the world stage began to wane. The once mighty bloc, a force to be reckoned with in global affairs, found its voice growing fainter, its pronouncements carrying less weight. On matters of global importance, from the turmoil in the Middle East to the existential threat of climate change, Europe seemed to speak with a multitude of voices, often hesitant, often contradictory. The swiftness and decisiveness that had once characterized its actions were replaced by a cumbersome bureaucracy, a labyrinth of competing interests and national agendas. And as the world watched, the image of a united Europe, a beacon of cooperation and progress, began to fade, replaced by a patchwork of nations, each pursuing its own narrow interests. The dream of a unified Europe, a global power capable of shaping the destiny of nations, seemed to be slipping away, lost in a chorus of discord and indecision. Technological backwardness. Europe is no longer an innovation hub. Once upon a time, Europe was at the forefront of technological innovation, leading the world in breakthroughs and advancements. But now, the continent struggles to keep pace with the rapid developments emerging from other parts of the globe. The once vibrant hubs of innovation and creativity have become shadows of their former selves, burdened by regulatory constraints and a lack of investment in cutting-edge research. The digital revolution, which has transformed economies and societies worldwide, seems to have bypassed much of Europe. As the world races ahead, Europe finds itself lagging, struggling to reclaim its place as a leader in technological progress. Remember a time not so long ago when Europe was a leader in technology, when Nokia phones were cutting edge and German engineering was the envy of the world. It wasn't just about cars and phones, though. Europe was a place where innovation thrived. But the world keeps spinning, doesn't it? And while Europe was content with its accomplishments, a new breed of innovators emerged. In America, companies like Google, Apple, and Amazon rose to prominence, fueled by a hunger for the future. These weren't just companies. They were empires built on lines of code and fueled by the dreams of billions. They reshaped the way we communicate, the way we shop, the way we live our lives. And Europe, it seemed, was slow to adapt to this new world order. Now, I ain't saying Europe's been left behind entirely, but the playing field has changed and the stakes are higher than ever. To compete in this new age, you need more than tradition. You need vision. You need audacity. You need to be willing to gamble on the future. The truth is, Europe still possesses brilliant minds, world-class universities, and a spirit of invention. But somewhere along the way, the fire dimmed. Maybe it was complacency, maybe it was a lack of investment, or maybe the weight of history itself became too heavy to bear. Look at the automotive industry. once a crown jewel of European innovation, companies like Mercedes and Volkswagen, names synonymous with quality and craftsmanship, are now facing a new generation of competitors. Tesla, with its electric cars and audacious promises, has captured the imagination of a generation. And then there's China, a sleeping giant awakened. Companies like Huawei and Alibaba have emerged as powerhouses, challenging the established order in telecommunications and e-commerce. They are hungry, they are relentless, and they are not afraid to take risks. So where does this leave Europe? Can it find a way to bridge the gap, to reclaim its place as a technological leader? Or will it be content to watch from the sidelines as the future is written without it? The future of Europe. Will the decline continue? This is the question that hangs over the continent. The choices made today will determine whether Europe can rise once more, or if it will be left behind in the annals of history. Only time will tell. For over 2 decades, we've witnessed a slow, steady decline in Europe's global standing. Like a ship caught in a strong current, it's been drifting further and further away from the shores of its former glory. The European Union, once a beacon of unity and prosperity, now grapples with internal divisions and economic stagnation. The continent that birthed the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution, now seems to be searching for its place in a world rapidly reshaping itself. The question weighs heavy on the minds of many. Can Europe change its course? Can it navigate the treacherous waters of geopolitical shifts, technological disruption, and social unrest to reclaim its position on the world stage? Or is this decline an inevitable tide, slowly pulling it towards an uncertain future? Some say Europe still holds a good hand, that its legacy of innovation, its educated workforce, its strong social safety nets, these are the tools it needs to rebuild and re-emerge. They point to the potential for green technologies, for a resurgence in manufacturing, for a renewed commitment to European integration as reasons for cautious optimism. They argue that Europe has weathered storms before, and it can do so again. But others, they see a different picture. They see a continent burdened by bureaucracy, hampered by an aging population, and struggling to keep pace with the dynamism of the United States and China. They worry that Europe is losing its competitive edge, its entrepreneurial spirit, its will to project power on the global stage. For them, the future looks less like a return to former glory, and more like a slow fade into the background of a world increasingly dominated by others. What do you think? We've journeyed together through the complexities of Europe's recent history, examined the challenges it faces, and considered the possibilities that lie ahead. We've seen the cracks in the foundation, the weight of expectations, the struggle to adapt and evolve. Europe's story is far from over. It's a story still being written, each chapter filled with uncertainty, with potential, with the echoes of a powerful past and the whispers of an unknown future. Now it's your turn to add your voice to the narrative. What do you think the future holds for Europe? Can this continent, with its rich history and its complex present, find a way to navigate the challenges of the 21st century and emerge stronger on the other side? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss, debate, and explore the possibilities together. The story of Europe is a tapestry woven from countless threads of triumph and tragedy, of unity and division, of progress and decline. It's a story that continues to unfold before our eyes, a reminder that even the mightiest empires are not immune to the passage of time.